Nobody tells you the truth about what happens after divorce. They'll tell you about the lawyers, the custody battles, the financial hit. But they don't tell you about sitting in your new apartment at 2 a.m. staring at the ceiling, realizing you're 38 years old and starting over while everyone else seems to have their life figured out. They don't tell you about the emotional ghosts that follow you into every new relationship. Let me share what really happens to men after divorce, especially when you're 35 or older, because someone needs to say this out loud. 0035. The emotional aftermath isn't what you expect. You think once the papers are signed, you're free. But trauma doesn't work that way. I had a client who'd been divorced 3 years, started dating a wonderful woman, and at her birthday dinner, when she blew out the candles, he suddenly remembered his ex-wife's 30th birthday. Same restaurant layout, similar cake, and boom! He's back there emotionally. His body was at the table with his new girlfriend, but his mind was 5 years in the past. These emotional flashbacks hit when you least expect them. Your new partner suggests watching a movie, and it's the same one you watched with your ex on your honeymoon. She makes pasta the way your ex used to. She laughs at something on TV, and for a split second, you hear your ex-wife's laugh. These aren't conscious comparisons. They're involuntary emotional responses that make you feel like you're betraying both women simultaneously. 1:45. The psychological exhaustion is real. After going through the emotional meat grinder of divorce, you lose the ability to romanticize love. You know what those little red flags mean now. You recognize manipulation tactics. You see through the performance. This isn't cynicism, it's pattern recognition. But it robs you of that innocent excitement you once had about relationships. If you have kids, the split fatherhood dynamic will tear you apart. I counsel men who have children from their first marriage and are trying to build new families. One guy told me he was holding his newborn son, feeling overwhelming love, and suddenly remembered holding his first child the same way. The guilt hit him like a truck. How can he be fully present for this new baby when his first kid only sees him every other weekend? 2:52. The emotional conflict is constant. You're at your new stepson's soccer game cheering him on, but you're thinking about missing your biological son's game happening across town. You're helping your new partner's daughter with homework while knowing your own daughter is struggling in school and you're not there. Every moment of joy with the new family is tainted with guilt about the original one. This invisible pain follows you everywhere. Your new partner posts a happy family photo on social media, and all you can think about is how your kids from the first marriage will feel seeing it. You're planning a vacation with the new family while knowing your other children will spend that week wondering why dad chose them over you. It's not about choosing. It's about being torn between two worlds that shouldn't coexist. 03:58. The loss of shared history with someone is something nobody prepares you for. Your new partner doesn't know that you hate olives because of that food poisoning incident in Vegas. She doesn't get why you tense up when you hear a certain song. She wasn't there for your father's death, your career breakthrough, your brother's wedding. You have to explain everything, provide context for every reaction, translate 20 years of life into words. The emotional isolation is crushing. You feel like a stranger in your own life because nobody really knows you anymore. Your new partner knows current you, but not how you became this person. She sees the end result without understanding the process. Meanwhile, your ex knows your history but is no longer part of your present. You're caught between two incomplete understandings of who you are. 5:05. Every comparison becomes a minefield. Your new partner cooks differently, decorates differently, handles conflict differently. These aren't better or worse, they're just different. But your brain, trained by years of marriage, keeps defaulting to the old patterns. You reach for things in the wrong drawer. You expect reactions that don't come. You're constantly translating between two different emotional languages. The weight of the past is something you can't escape. You can't just delete a decade of photos because your kids are in them. You can't throw away all the memories because some of them are precious despite the pain. That box in the closet with old anniversary cards, your wedding album, the video of your daughter's first steps, they exist in this liminal space between treasure and torture. 06:12. The psychological burden of carrying two lives simultaneously is exhausting. You're trying to build new memories while being haunted by old ones. Every milestone with the new partner, first anniversary, first vacation, first holiday together, is shadowed by the ghost of having done this before. It feels like watching a remake of a movie you've already seen, and you can't help but compare every scene. The unavoidable repetition makes everything feel hollow. Another wedding? You've done that. Another honeymoon? Been there. Another Our Song? You had one of those. The special moments don't feel special anymore because you've already used up those firsts. Your new partner deserves someone who's experiencing these things fresh, but you're giving her recycled emotions. 7:18. The emotional fatigue in second relationships changes you fundamentally. You become pragmatic where you were once romantic. You see relationships as partnerships rather than fairy tales. This isn't necessarily bad, it's more realistic. But something is lost. That wide-eyed optimism, that belief in forever, that willingness to dive in completely, it's gone, replaced by careful calculation and risk assessment. The fear of betrayal becomes your constant companion. You find yourself looking for signs, checking for red flags, waiting for the other shoe to drop. When your new partner is extra nice, you wonder what she wants. When she's distant, you assume she's checking out. You've become a detective in your own relationship, gathering evidence for a crime that hasn't been committed. 8:25. This cynicism battles with hope every single day. Part of you wants to believe this time will be different. Part of you knows that's what you thought last time. You're simultaneously trying to protect yourself and open up, build walls and tear them down. It's exhausting being at war with yourself while trying to love someone else. The communication gap is massive. With your ex, you had years of shared language, inside jokes, non-verbal understanding. A look could communicate volumes. A gesture could diffuse an argument. Now you're starting from zero. Your new partner can't read your moods, doesn't know your triggers, misinterprets your silence. You have to explicitly state everything you used to communicate telepathically. 09:32. She doesn't understand why certain topics make you shut down. She doesn't know that when you get quiet, it's not anger, but processing. She hasn't learned that you need space after work before talking. All these things your ex knew instinctively now require explanation, negotiation, patience. You're teaching someone a language you're not even sure you want them to learn. The lack of shared timeline creates constant friction. She doesn't know who you were at 25, what dreams you had at 30, what broke you at 35. When you reference your past, it's like describing a movie she hasn't seen. Your evolution, your growth, your scars. They're all stories to her, not lived experiences. She knows the plot but missed the performance. 10:38. The age and child dilemma becomes a massive issue. You're 38, divorced with 2 kids. She's 34, never married, biological clock ticking like a time bomb. She says she's fine with your kids, but you see the baby fever in her eyes. You've already done the midnight feedings, the terrible twos, the teenage rebellion. The thought of starting over exhausts you, but telling her that might end everything. These hidden expectations poison everything. She doesn't bring up kids directly, but she lights up around babies. She mentions her pregnant friends constantly. She casually points out bigger houses with better school districts. You both know what's not being said, and that unspoken conversation is louder than anything you actually discuss. 11:45. The unavoidable incompatibility becomes clear eventually. If she wants kids and you don't, someone has to lose. If you have more kids to keep her, you'll resent it. If she gives up kids for you, she'll resent it. There's no compromise on creating human life. This isn't about preference like choosing a restaurant. It's about fundamentally different life paths. The evolution of loneliness hits different after 35. In your 20s, being alone meant freedom. In your 40s, it means emptiness. Coming home to an empty apartment at 42 feels different than at 25. The silence isn't peaceful anymore. It's oppressive. You realize that humans aren't meant to be alone, that we need witness to our lives, someone to share the mundane moments. 12:52. The emotional decline becomes noticeable. Without someone to talk to daily, you find yourself having conversations in your head. Without physical touch, you become touch-starved without realizing it. Without someone asking about your day, you stop thinking your day matters. The absence of companionship isn't just lonely, it's literally unhealthy. This human need for connection becomes more acute with age. You realize that independence is overrated, that having someone to watch TV with matters, that cooking for 2 is better than cooking for 1, that having someone who cares if you come home is fundamental to well-being. The freedom you fought for in divorce starts feeling like a prison of solitude. 13:58. But here's the thing, a new relationship can be healing when done right. The right partner can help repair the damage your ex left behind. When someone treats you with genuine respect after years of contempt, it's transformative. When someone appreciates your efforts after years of criticism, you remember who you used to be. This restoration of self-worth is profound. A client told me his new girlfriend thanked him for fixing her sink. A simple thank you, and he almost cried. His ex would have complained it took too long or that he made a mess. These small moments of appreciation rebuild confidence that was systematically destroyed. You remember that you're not worthless, not a failure, not unlovable. 1505. The therapeutic renewal of a healthy relationship cannot be overstated. The right partner becomes a form of emotional rehabilitation. She shows you that arguments don't have to be wars, that disagreements don't mean divorce, that vulnerability doesn't always lead to betrayal. She literally rewires your nervous system back to baseline normal. The memory replacement technique actually works. I tell guys to take their new partner to places that have emotional significance from the past. That restaurant where your ex had a meltdown, take your new partner there and have a wonderful dinner. That vacation spot you loved but was ruined by fighting. Go there and create new associations. You're literally overwriting the emotional hard drive. 1612. Creating stronger emotional associations with the new partner neutralizes old pain. The brain updates its files. That song that used to make you sad now reminds you of dancing with your new girlfriend. That holiday that used to be depressing is now associated with your new traditions. The past doesn't disappear, but it loses its emotional charge. This practical emotional healing happens through action, not avoidance. You can't heal by hiding from triggers. You heal by creating new experiences that prove the past isn't the present. Every successful moment with the new partner is evidence that relationships don't have to be warfare. Your nervous system slowly learns to relax. 1718. The gratitude through comparison becomes real. You appreciate kindness because you've experienced cruelty. You value peace because you've lived through chaos. You recognize a good partner because you've survived a bad one. The contrast makes you grateful in a way that first-time married people can't understand. This transforms resentment into wisdom. That hellish first marriage. It taught you what to avoid, your ex's manipulation. It trained you to recognize red flags. The divorce. It proved you can survive anything. The pain wasn't pointless, it was education. Expensive education, but education nonetheless. 1825. The emotional evolution leads to deeper understanding. You know now that love isn't just feeling, it's choice, commitment, daily action. You understand that compatibility matters more than chemistry. You realize that respect is non-negotiable. These aren't things you read in books, they're lessons written in scar tissue. 1858. But when children are involved, forgiveness becomes complicated. If your ex weaponized the kids, used them as pawns, poisoned them against you, that's not forgivable. A client's ex told their children daddy left because he didn't love them. How do you forgive that? How do you move past someone deliberately traumatizing your children to hurt you? 1932. The protective instinct makes the pain worse. You can handle your own hurt, but watching your kids suffer because of adult problems breaks something inside you. Every therapy session they need, every night they cry for the other parent, every milestone you miss, it accumulates into a rage that has nowhere to go. This permanent emotional scar affects everything. You can't fully relax in the new relationship because you're always waiting for the next attack from the ex. Court dates, custody battles, poisoned weekends when the kids come back different. The war isn't over just because you're divorced. With kids, the battle continues for 18 years, minimum. 2038. The post-divorce psychological reflexes are real. Like a combat veteran, you're hypervigilant to emotional threats. A raised voice makes you tense up. A slammed door triggers fight or flight. These aren't conscious responses, they're trauma adaptations. Your body learned that emotional situations equal danger, and it's protecting you. The suspicion of affection becomes automatic. When the new partner is kind, you wonder what she wants. When she's supportive, you're looking for the manipulation. When she says she loves you, you're waiting for the but. This isn't fair to her, but your brain is pattern matching based on historical data. 2145. The gradual trust recovery takes months or years. First, you trust her with small things. picking a restaurant, choosing a movie. Then medium things, planning a weekend, meeting your friends. Finally, big things, meeting your kids, moving in together, combining finances. Each successful trust exercise builds evidence that she's safe. 22:18. Some men get stuck in the illusion of waiting for the ex. They're divorced, but not really. They're hoping she'll change, realize her mistake, come back reformed. This fantasy prevents them from moving forward. I've seen men waste decades in this holding pattern, unable to accept that the person they married no longer exists. 22:52. This emotional paralysis is self-inflicted torture. Every woman they date is compared to an idealized version of the ex that never existed. They're not looking for a new partner, they're looking for their ex without the problems. But people don't work that way. You can't keep the good and delete the bad. The wasted years pile up while they wait for something that's never coming. Meanwhile, life is passing by. Opportunities for real connection are missed. Good women are rejected for not being the ex. It's like refusing to leave a burning building because you're hoping it will stop being on fire. 23:58. The shift in how men choose partners after divorce is dramatic. The first marriage was all hormones and hope. The second is spreadsheets and strategy. You're not just picking someone you're attracted to. You're evaluating psychological stability, financial responsibility, parenting philosophy, conflict resolution skills. It's less romantic, but more likely to succeed. 24:32. The increased selectiveness is protective. You're not going to ignore red flags this time. You're not going to assume problems will fix themselves. You're not going to marry potential. If she's got issues, she needs to handle them before you commit, not after. You've already paid for one person's therapy through divorce. You're not funding another. 25:05. The value of reciprocity becomes non-negotiable. The first marriage, you probably did 80% while telling yourself it was 50-50. Not this time. You're watching for actual contribution, not promised contribution. Does she actually cook or just talk about cooking? Does she actually support your goals or just say she does? Actions only, no words. The post-divorce empowerment is real once you embrace it. You survived betrayal, financial ruin, emotional devastation, and you're still standing. You're basically emotionally invincible now. What's the worst that could happen? Another divorce? You've already survived one. You know you can handle anything life throws at you. 26:12. This transformation through pain makes you stronger than you ever were. You're not the naive optimist who got married at 25. You're a man who's been tested by fire and emerged harder but wiser. You know your worth now because you know what it cost. You know your strength because you've used it. The reclaimed strength changes everything. You don't need a relationship, you're choosing one. You're not desperate for validation. You're selective about connection. You're not afraid of being alone. You're afraid of being with the wrong person. This shift in power dynamics changes who you attract and how you're treated. 27:18. You now have the right to choose better. The first marriage, you probably felt lucky someone chose you. Now you know you're the prize. A stable man with experience, resources, emotional intelligence, and battle-tested resilience. You're what every smart woman is looking for. The question isn't whether you're good enough for them, it's whether they're good enough for you. The practical advice for rebuilding is simple but not easy. First, do the work on yourself. Read the relationship books, watch the psychology videos, understand attachment styles, manipulation tactics, healthy boundaries. Education is your armor. Knowledge prevents repetition of patterns. 28:25. Learn relationship dynamics before diving into dating. Understand why you picked your ex. Recognize your own contribution to the dysfunction. Identify your triggers and weak spots. This isn't about blame, it's about breaking cycles. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. 28:58. Avoiding old mistakes requires conscious effort. You'll be attracted to the same type initially. That's your programming. But now you know to pause, evaluate, think. Is this familiar feeling good or just familiar? Is this comfort or is this a red flag wrapped in nostalgia? Your emotions aren't always your friends. 29:32. Personal growth becomes the foundation for future love. The better you become, the better partner you attract. Work on your health, your career, your mental state. Become the man who deserves what he wants. This isn't about changing for someone else. It's about becoming who you were meant to be before life knocked you sideways. The journey after divorce at 35 plus isn't what anyone plans for. It's harder than staying married would have been, but it's also more honest. You're not living a lie anymore. You're not pretending everything's fine. You're dealing with reality, and reality is tough but manageable. 30-38. The secret nobody tells you is that the second chance can be better than the first if you do it right. Not easier, better. More conscious, more intentional, more real. You know what matters now. You know what lasts. You know what's worth fighting for and what's worth letting go. 31-12. Every divorced man over 35 is fighting battles nobody sees. The 3 a.m. loneliness, the custody heartbreak, the financial rebuilding, the emotional scar tissue. But you're also gaining strength nobody recognizes, the wisdom from pain, the clarity from loss, the appreciation from contrast. 31:45. Your new relationship doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be healthy. Your new partner doesn't have to be your soulmate. She just has to be your teammate. Your new life doesn't have to be what you planned. It just has to be authentically yours. The hardest part after divorce isn't the loneliness or the financial hit or even missing your kids half the time. It's rebuilding yourself into someone who can trust again, love again, believe again. It's choosing vulnerability after betrayal. It's risking hurt after being destroyed. 32-52. But here's what I know from counselling hundreds of divorced men. Those who do the work, who face the pain, who rebuild consciously, they often end up happier than they ever were in their first marriage. Not immediately, not easily, but eventually. The second chapter can be better than the first if you're willing to write it differently. You're not starting over at 35 or 40 or 50. You're starting with 35 or 40 or 50 years of experience. That's not a disadvantage. That's wisdom. Use it. Learn from it. Build on it. Your best years aren't behind you. They're waiting for you to create them. 33-58. The pain you're feeling is temporary. The lessons you're learning are permanent. The strength you're building is yours forever. And someday, probably sooner than you think, you'll look back on this period not as when your life ended, but as when your real life began. 34-32, I want to hear from you guys. What's been the hardest part of rebuilding after divorce? What surprised you about starting over after 35? What advice would you give to men just beginning this journey? Drop your experiences in the comments. Your story might be exactly what another man needs to hear today. We're all in this together, even when we're alone.